All right, so this is our old stove. We had this since like 2004. Bought it brand new from Sears, and it was a great stove. And honestly, it's still a great range stove oven combo. The main problem with it is this glass is cracked, and because of that, any kind of liquids would get through the crack and onto this burner. This burner, all the burners still worked. It's just that this one would smoke and cause a little flame under there, so we tended not to use this one. But we bought a new stove. We bought a Maytag, and honestly, this one, as I recall, was like $600 when we bought it, and the new one we bought is more like $1,600. We bought a Maytag, but the quality of this one is actually better. It's much more sturdily built. So I'm going to take it apart and take all the pieces out of it because I'm just curious how this comes apart. I've never taken one apart before. So what I've done so far, first thing I did was I removed this back panel. It was 6 screws, and that back plate comes off. The next thing I did was I opened this door, the front door, and I noticed that there are 3 screws underneath, and I removed all 3 screws. Once you do that, then this piece here comes loose, and it lifts up, kind of like a car hood or something. And so I'm going to take the burners and everything out, all the switches and wiring. I'm going to repurpose the wiring and stuff. When I'm done with this, only the shell is going to be left, and it's going to be recycled. But all I really needed was a glass, and I don't know where to get the glass, and plus I understand they're pretty expensive. They're like a couple $100 or even $300. So I was just curious about how difficult it is to replace the glass. So I'm going to focus on that and figure out how to do that. Okay, so I've dropped the first set of burners, the first front row, and it was just held up by this one bracket with 2 screws with a 1/4-inch head. You can see where this one, the crack has allowed grease and stuff to fall onto this, and this is broken. That ring there is broken. So yeah, that if we were replacing the glass, this would have to be replaced. This one looks good though. It's real good. Definitely reusable. There's 4 wires to go to each of these. I just pulled them off, not really paying attention because I'm not going to be putting this back together. And similarly, the 2 smaller burners in the back, as you can see, it's got this bracket with 2 1/4-inch head screws that basically hold that bracket in place. And I didn't disconnect the wires there because I can't really get to them. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. So if I was replacing a burner because, you know, a burner went out but everything else was fine, what you would do is you'd open this door, the front door here, you'd open it up, remove the 3 screws that attach this to the body, and then you would remove these 2 screws and lower it down. And now that you've got this loose, I wouldn't disconnect the wires yet. I would go ahead and get the new burner installed on this bracket, and then I would remove this. And the way you remove this is you take some pliers and you pinch those clips, and then they'll just come right off. And until you do that, see, they won't come off. So get you a pair of pliers like this, and then you pinch them, and then they'll come off. Let me do that real quick. Okay. So on this burner, I've pinched those clips, and now it's free. And you would just put your new unit on here and reconnect the wires in the correct order, one at a time, so you don't screw it up. This one I have not pinched the connectors yet, or the holders, and you can see how it is. It's got a little bitty bump, and that bump just, you know, you press it down and it squishes in and let you have clearance to slide that metal thing through the slots. That's pretty much it. Now, if you're going to reuse these, you'll have to reverse that. You'll have to get a screwdriver or an ice pick or something and push that tab back out so that when you push it in, it will snap into place and stay. So that's a common thing on these, I guess. Although we never had a problem with these burners. These are the original burners. But that's how you would replace a burner on this type of oven stove range. Now that I've got all the burners out and everything unwired, all the wires are disconnected, this whole piece, glass and frame, will come out as a unit. So let me see if I can do this one-handed. So it should just slide right out. All right, so what you got to do, you can't really see it, but I'm trying to show you. Got to lower it down and then pull it out. So there you go. So don't leave it all the way up like this. Come down with it about like that, and then pull it straight out, and it comes out. So now I don't know if the glass is replaced by itself or if you have to buy the entire top piece with the metal around it. I don't know. I'm going to look and see how this glass is in there. It's got a seal there. It's got a rubber seal around it. Maybe if you took a sharp razor blade or something and cut that out, maybe that would come out. But then how would you install the new one? I'm not sure, but I guess if you bought a new glass, it would come with instructions, I would hope. All right, so anyway, I'm going to continue. Actually, before I continue dismantling the rest of the oven, I wanted just to comment. This is a ceramic glass, I suppose, and it's got like a bumpy side on the bottom. It's bumpy, and then you can see where the crack went through, and it went right through that bumpy part. But yeah, that feels like a good quality piece of glass. But I mean, after 15-20 years, it's gonna crack. I mean, it's just the way it is, because things heating up and cooling down, heating up. We didn't drop anything on this. Just one day we saw a slight crack, and of course, as time went on, it got worse. But yeah, so just looking at this glass is just set in there, glued in with a rubber adhesive or something. So if you try to remove it, even if it's not broke, it's going to break. I think that there's no way to remove this glass from the frame without breaking it. But if you're replacing it, then you don't care. You're breaking the old one out anyway. But just my observation, that like you can see there, that looks like some sort of rubber glue right there. And yeah, I don't know. You would think they could have bolted it in, screwed it in or something. But anyway, continuing. All right, so another part that might go bad on one of these is the switch here that goes through, and the door actuates it when you shut it. That could go bad, and if it goes bad, either your light doesn't work at all or it's on all the time, right? It's two ways it could fail. So I'm gonna figure out how to remove that. It looks like all you have to do is unplug this connector here and then push it that way. Open this door and then push it out that way. So let me see if that's how you do it. So I was correct that this just plugs into a connector there, and I couldn't get these to push in, these keepers to push in with my bare fingers, so I used the channel locks here, and I pushed on like that, and then I pulled at the same time, and it came right out. It kind of distorted those keepers a little bit, but I think it's fine. This could still be used. So that's another part that could potentially go bad, and you have to replace it. I'm going to try to remove all of these temperature control knobs for the different stove elements, the different pads. There's 4 of them. This model only had 4 burners. And then I'm going to remove this brain, because this brain was still good. So I'm going to want to keep that and see if anyone needs a brain on eBay or something. So looks like on this, it's just bolted in with 4 screws, and of course you got to unplug all the connectors. Now these guys, after you unplug the connectors, I'm not sure how they come out. I'll have to figure it out. Once I figure it out, I'll explain it. So I've got all the wires unplugged from this. It was only 5 wires and 1 big connector that was going to the brain. So if you ever needed to replace the brain on something like this, that's, you take this back cover off first, steel cover, metal cover, and then unplug it, and then unscrew these 4 screws, and it should come straight out. So let me do that. All right, so the brain board came out just like we thought. There it is right there, just the 4 bolts or 4 screws, and it came right out. Now these burner controls, temperature adjusters, these knobs just pull off, just like that. And underneath you're going to find 2 screws. So removing those 2 screws should remove the potentiometers. So let me do that and get those out of there. So all of these came out just exactly like I said they would. The 2 screws release it from the panel and it comes right out. Now there's something to be paying attention to here. There's 2 different types. There's a type A and a type B. The type A is for the smaller burners. They're only rated for 1500 watts. So when you put this back together, you got to pay attention to type A versus type B if you're driving a small burner or a large burner. And the type B is rated for 2600 watts. There, see that better, 2600. Oh yeah, wait a minute, is it 26 or 21? 2600 watts. So this is for the big burners, the 2 up front on this model, and these for the small burners, the 2 back ones on this model. So when you're installing these, you may not have paid attention on which way is up. There's 2 ways that these can go in. You could put them in upside down. Of course, the wiring probably wouldn't work out. But if you're curious how to do it, just make sure the knob is in the center, is in the default position. When it's in the default position, it won't turn without being pushed in. So just make sure that it's pointing up to line up with the mark on the panel. So that's how that would go. All right, I just removed all of the wire shelves that were in there. I'll tell you what, if you had to buy those new, it would be probably $200 or $300. It's insane how expensive things like that are. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this back panel. Looks like it's only, maybe half a dozen screws, and then I can remove that to get to the rest of the wiring. Okay, so I'm getting close to the end of this. Just want to comment that this power block here is where the 220 volts connects. You would connect your 3 wires for the 220 right there. And let's see, this here is the light bulb that illuminates the inside. I'm going to remove that because that light bulb was still good. I believe this is a temperature sensor here. So it looks like just 1 screw holds that in. Where these wires go, I guess they went up to the top. Let's see. Oh, these wires here are for the switch. That's for the switch to the door. We've got a switch sensor here to sense when the door is shut or not. Now on these old units, they didn't lock the door, but on new units, this would actuate some sort of solenoid to keep the door from being opened by children. Don't like it, but that's just the way it is now. That's all you can get. The government has required safety features like that be added. Up top, I've still got a couple of lights. 1 light there that was probably telling you the element is on or is hot, and that's the other one. There's also a switch in the corner, so I'll be removing all that. And these 2 wires here go to the heating elements. This is the lower heating element for the oven, and this is the upper, the broiling heating element. So this lower one had been replaced. I replaced it because it had burned out, and it was no big deal. In fact, I didn't even have to take the back cover off. I removed the screws that hold the element from the inside, and then I pulled it forward, and these wires went inside to the oven cavity, and I unplugged it there, and then I just replugged it back in and pushed it through. So anyway, let me continue. All right, so a couple neat things to show on this. This is one of the lights that was going through the panel that went right there. This one was for the hot surface light. What these are nothing more, just slid on. It's got a little bitty plastic transparent pin in there that slides over. So let me demonstrate how to remove it. So on this switch, all you got to do is push it away like that, and see it leaves the pin behind. And there's the switch there. It leaves the pin behind. So now the pin can be removed from the front. Like that. And then of course you'll want to keep it with the light bulb, which is down there, so I'll reinsert it. Now there's another interesting thing that I saw, and that's this temperature sensor. This temperature sensor has a single screw, so you remove the screw, and then you'll see the other side that doesn't have a screw is tucked into a little fold in the metal. So what you're going to do is you're going to twist it like that and then just pull it straight out. So there's the temperature sensor, and it's socketed. So you unplug it from the wiring harness first, and then it just slides out. So those are kind of neat, I thought. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove the 2 burners. It's just 1 screw on each side, so 2 screws total, and then that will pull straight out. Similarly on the top for the broiler, should be just 2 screws and it'll pull just right out. All right, I've taken everything off that I want to take off. This was the upper broiler heating element. I've taken the light bulb off. There's a nice, high, fairly good quality piece of glass that was covering that. And there's a socket. Look how burnt up that is, but it still worked. It's ceramic. Look at the light bulb. That light bulb still works, but look how hot it had gotten. So the other heating elements there. The top heating element, there were some little pieces that had to be removed. They're just held in with 1 screw, and after you remove those, then the heating element comes out just real easy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put the panels back on and put the glass back on, so that when I take it to the recycler, it's all in one piece, except all the innards are out of it. All right, that's it for this video. I hope it was useful or interesting, whatever. But yeah, I mean, we talked about how to replace parts on something like this, so it probably applies to many of the new products that you can buy today. But the new products won't be as good a quality. All right, well, thanks for watching.